Hello, in this video we're going to show you how to set up some basic bank rules on Xero. Bank rules are really useful part of Xero and also the other cloud products. And what they do is they automate a lot of the data entry into the software. An example might be where we see Vodafone on a bank statement. So 9 times out of 10, if we see Vodafone on a bank statement, it's going to be for telephone or internet fees. And it's likely going to have 20% VAT on it. So rather than you sort of entering that information manually every time you see it on the bank, what we can do is we can import the bank data either through directly connecting Xero to your bank or importing an Excel file, and then let Xero read the statement, and once it finds the word Vodafone, it will go ahead and either post it to telephone and internet or against the Vodafone ledger and claim 20% VAT back on it for you. So to show how that works, what we have to do is we basically go on to accounts and then bank accounts. And then what we have is a button here, bank rules. Click on that. And then create rule. That's going to give us a few options. So do we want to create a rule for receiving money? Do we want to create a rule for spending money out of our bank? Or do we want to create a rule where we're just transferring money from one bank account to another? So the Vodafone example, perhaps that would be spend money rule, because we're going to be spending money out of our bank and buying Vodafone products. So then what's presented is quite a hefty screen compared to some of the other cloud providers, but I think this is a good thing because it lets you really zero down on the detail and really specify exactly what it is that you want to achieve with this bank rule. So if we just work through them, so when money spent on the bank statement matches all of the following conditions, you could choose any. I like to try and be as specific as possible. There's no reason why you can't, and it just means that if something does pop up on the bank statement that isn't actually Vodafone but looks very similar to it, the rule would ignore it because it needs to match everything. So we'll say in any text field, we could sort of say payee, description, anything that's on the bank statement, but we'll just say any text field that contains or is equal to or starts with or is blank, but we're going to say contains Vodafone in the narrative, in the description. Then what we want to do is we choose to allocate that to an existing or new contact, and this contact will be called Vodafone. So as you can see, it's worked out that I have a supplier already in existence called Vodafone. So whenever it finds something with Vodafone written in it, it's going to be set as Vodafone, the supplier. And then we can skip past option 3 because that's useful for where we are splitting a transaction. I will explain that in a little bit. We'll just jump to step 4. And we're just going to say, right, what's the description you want to give it in Xero? So when we run our accounts and we see an entry in telephone or something, we can give it a narrative. We can say, actually, this is Vodafone mobile. Okay. And then it's saying what nominal, what category do you want to post this to? So telephone might be a really useful one to post this to. How much VAT do we want to reclaim on this purchase? So it's defaulted to 20%. As I've mentioned in a previous video, we've set Vodafone up as a proper supplier, and we've told it that it will typically charge 20% VAT, therefore it's just brought in 20% at this point. And that's it, 100% of all this is going to be dealt with in telephone and VAT. So once we've done that, we've basically give the rule a name. So I like to say, whenever I see Vodafone, please post it to 489 telephone with 20% VAT. And that's quite useful because once you get into the bank rule way of doing things, your list of rules are going to build up quite quickly. And rather than sort of clicking in and out of each one, trying to find the Vodafone one that you're referring to, giving it as much detail as possible in the rule will just mean that you'll be able to find the rule straight away from your list, because any supplier that you've got, any customer that you've got, you can create a rule for if you really want to. So you can imagine there's a few of them that could be set up for you. You'll notice we've just jumped past 5 and 6, and that's just basically if you want to tweak it or if you just want to apply the rule to a specific account, things like that. But for now, we could just click save, and that is that bank rule sorted. Just before we do, I did previously mention as well that we've jumped past step 3, the fixed value items. So Again, what that's useful for is really drilling down on the detail and saying, actually, whenever you find these transactions, can you split it for me? So an example might be a loan repayment. So if, for example, it sees A Bank PLC as a payment coming out of the bank for, let's say, £1,000, you might know the element that is capital repayment and the element that's interest repayment. So we could set up a percentage split. Or if you're doing it on a straight line basis, you could say, I want £800 of the 1,000 to pay down my loan, and I want the remaining £200 of the £1,000 to be charged against interest, and that's the interest element. So splits are really useful, and they really do automate a lot of bank transactions. They typically are useful for loan repayments, hire purchase repayments, anything that's just got interest attached to it, where you're actually paying 2 or 3 different things all at once. Other things might be that if you just want to departmentalise things. So if you get one big phone bill in for Vodafone, that might actually be for 4 or 5 different contracts, and you might have a separate category. You might have a sales telephone category, you might have an admin category, a cost of sales category for telephone. You can split them all that way as well. So then all that's left to do is click Save. And then once that rule's set up, every time you bring in data into Xero, either by connecting your bank or uploading a bank statement into Xero, when it finds the word Vodafone as a payment, it will apply that rule to it. So yeah, very useful. So I hope that's helped, guys. If you have got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. More than happy to help. Thanks very much for watching.